Jefferson County Court, law number 2 is back in session. The court is in session and calls number 23-CCCR-0162, case of style state of Texas versus Cody Sherrod Ford. Cody Sherrod Ford is present before the court. Cody Sherrod Ford was sworn in. Cody Sherrod Ford entered a plea of no contest to the charge of false drug test falsification device. Also, Mr. Ford acknowledged that his signatures initials were on the misdemeanor plea admonished, which states exhibit number 1. Also, Mr. Ford acknowledged that his signature was on the discovery certification. And Mr. Ford also acknowledged that his signature is on the trial court certification of defendant's right of appeal. Mr. Ford's attorney Langston Adams, waived the record in Mr. Ford's case. Mr. Adams did not object to state's exhibits 1 and 2 being admitted into evidence. And the state accepted Mr. Ford's plea of no contest. Court found that Mr. Ford was mentally incompetent to stand trial. The court also found that the plea and waivers were freely and voluntarily given, and that there was sufficient evidence to find Mr. Ford guilty beyond a reasonable doubt. In this case, the state offered Mr. Ford 10 days to be served in Jefferson County Jail with credit for 3 days. And the court cost in this case is $370. When asked Mr. Ford whether or not he can pay the court costs, he stated, "No, I have before me Jefferson County affidavit of indigence." Mr. Ford, you have previously been sworn in, is that correct? Now, this affidavit, Jefferson County affidavit of indigence, do you recognize this document?
Yes,
And on page 2 of this document, there's a signature above the line that's side of defendant's signature. Is that correct?
yes,
Now, is everything on this document true and correct to the best of your knowledge?
yes,
Okay, Mr. Ford, the court is going to find that you're indigent based on the finding of indigency. The court cost of $370 in this case will be waived pursuant to Article 42.15 of the Texas Code of Criminal Procedure. Mr. Ford, do you understand the state's offer?
yes, sir.
Do you think that the state's offer in your case is fair and just?
Yes, sir.
And do you accept the state's offer?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Ford, I'll follow the plea bargain agreement that you have entered into with the state. Now, Mr. Ford, this will conclude your case. You will be given credit for any time that you are entitled to get by law. You're going to stand on the X next to your attorney, follow the directions of our clerk. Once you finish following her directions, please follow the bailiff. Jefferson County Court at law number 2 is back in session. The court is in session in cause number 23-CCCR-0776, case of style of state of Texas versus John Frazier. Mr. Frazier, is that your full name?
Yes.
Mr. Frazier, would you please raise your right hand? Mr. Frazier, do you swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Mr. Frazier, you may put your hand down. How are you doing, Mr. Frazier? That's good, Mr. Frazier. You're represented in case by your attorney Langston Attorney Adams. Do you waive a record in Mr. Frazier's case?
Yes.
Mr. Frazier, I have before me a document that is titled information sheet. This information sheet was filed by the Jefferson County District Attorney's Office. In this information sheet, it alleges that you, John Frazier, on or about January 30, 2023, while you were in Jefferson County, Texas, that you committed the Class B misdemeanor offense of possession of a controlled substance, penalty group 2A. Mr. Frazier, do you understand what you have been charged with?
Yes.
And to this charge, Mr. Frazier, how do you plead? Guilty, not guilty, or no contest?
No contest.
Now, you're pleading no contest freely and voluntarily?
Yeah.
And are you pleading no contest because you do not wish to fight or contest the charges?
No. Not that I know. Right.
Okay, Mr. Frazier, I also have before me a document that is titled Misdemeanor Plea Admonishments, also labeled as State's Exhibit Number 1. Do you recognize this document? On page 2 of the same document, there's a set of initials, JF, that are on the line next to a box that says checked, no contendory, which means no contest. Did you place your initials on this document? On page 3 of the same document, there's a signature above the line that is titled defendant. Is this your signature? And on the next document is titled trial court certification of defendant's right of appeal. Do you recognize this document?
Yes.
And is this your signature on the line that is titled defendant? At the top of this document, there's one box that's checked. The box that's checked states that this is a plea bargain case and you have no right of appeal. Do you understand that statement? Next document that I have is titled discovery certification. Do you recognize this document?
Yes.
And is this your signature on the line that's titled defendant? Now, Mr. Frazier, before you sign and initial all of these documents that I just showed you, did your attorney go over these documents with you?
Yes.
And did you read and understand everything that he went over?
Yes.
And is everything in these documents true and correct to the best of your knowledge? Mr. Frazier, are you a citizen of the United States? State, I have before me State's Exhibit Number 1, the misdemeanor plea admonishment, and State's Exhibit Number 2, the probable cause affidavit, which is in the court's file. State, would you like to offer States 1 and 2?
Yes, Your Honor.
Any objections?
No.
Mr. Adams?
None.
No objection. State's Exhibit Number 1 and 2 will be admitted. Mr. Adams, you've advised and counseled Mr. Frazier. Is there any evidence that he is currently mentally incompetent to stand trial?
No.
Mr. Frazier, your attorney, Mr. Adams, has advised and counseled you. Are you satisfied with his representation? Has he provided fully effective and competent legal representation? Mr. Frazier, I will accept your plea of no contest. I will find that you are mentally competent to stand trial. I will also find that your plea and waivers were freely and voluntarily given. And I will also find that there is sufficient evidence to find you guilty beyond a reasonable doubt. State, do we have a plea bargain agreement?
Yes, we do, Your Honor.
And what is that agreement?
In exchange for the defendant's plea of guilty, the state has offered 45 days in jail plus court costs and given him credit for 9 days.
Okay, what's the court cost in this, Mr. Frazier? Richard. Mr. Frazier, the state is offering that you serve 45 days in the Jefferson County Jail. And does he have credit for 9 days?
That's what we're showing.
Okay, and Mr. Frazier, you have credit for 9 days that you've already served in the Jefferson County Jail. You'll be given credit for the 9 days that you've already served at any time that you are entitled to get by law. The court cost in this case is $370. Are you able to pay the $370 court cost? Okay, Mr. Frazier, I have before me a document that is titled Affidavit of Indigence. You can look at the first 2 pages showing this.
Yes. Very nice.
Okay. Just turn the next page. And now you could give that back to me.
Yes.
Okay. Now, Mr. Frazier, on this document that is in your that's in the court's file, affidavit of indigence, the magistrate signed, said you met the eligibility requirements. That is, they found that you was indigent, and based on that finding of indigency. Now, first of all, is everything in this document still true and correct today?
Yes.
Okay. Now, based on the finding of indigency, Mr. Frazier, the court is going to waive the court costs. In this case, that means you won't have to pay it. Okay, and that's pursuant to Article 42.15 of Texas Code of Criminal Procedure, because the court has found that you are indigent. Mr. Frazier, do you understand the state's offer?
Yes.
And do you think that the state's offer in your case is fair and just? And do you accept the state's offer? Mr. Frazier, I'll follow the plea bargain agreement that you have entered into with the state. Mr. Frazier, you're gonna stand on the X next to your attorney, follow the directions of our clerk. Once you finish following her directions, you can follow the bailiff, and you have a blessed day. Is that Gang Strong?
You too.
Yeah, hold on a minute. Strong, hold on a minute. Jefferson County Court at Law number 2 is back in session. The court is in session in 2 cases. First case is cause number 23CCCR 1070. And the second case is cause number 23CCCR 1072. Both cases are styled the state of Texas versus Mia Nicole Williams.
Yes, yes, sir.
Ms. Williams, is that your full name?
Yes, yes, yes.
Ms. Williams, would you please raise your right hand? Ms. Williams, do you swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God? Ms. Williams, you may put your hand down. How are you doing, Ms. Williams?
I'm okay.
That's good. Now, Ms. Williams, in cause number 23CCCR 1070, I have before me a document that is titled Information Sheet. In this information sheet that was filed by the Jefferson County District Attorney's Office, Ms. Williams, it alleges that on or about April 15 of 2023, while you were in Jefferson County, Texas, that you, Mia Nicole Williams, committed the Class B misdemeanor offense of criminal trespass. Ms. Williams, do you understand what you've been charged with?
Yeah.
And to this charge, Ms. Williams, how do you plead? Guilty, not guilty, or no contest?
No comment.
Now, you pleaded no contest freely and voluntarily? Are you doing it of your own free will? No, is anybody forcing you?
No,
You-
it wasn't.
Okay. And are you pleading no contest because you do not want to fight or contest the charges?
Yes.
Okay. Now, Ms. Williams, I also have before me a document that is titled Misdemeanor Plea Admonishment. Also labeled as State's Exhibit Number 1. Do you recognize this document?
Yes, it is.
On page 2 of the same document, there's a set of initials MN on the line next to the box that says check nola contendere. Are these your initials?
Yes, sir.
On page 3 of the same document, there's a signature above the line that is titled defendant. Is this your signature?
Yes, it is.
On the next document, this next document, wait a minute. Wait a minute. She put her initials on all 3.
That's the way she signed, all right?
Hold on, okay, so you sign your name MNW?
Yes, yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Now, on the next document that's titled Trial Court Certification
Uh,
of Defendant's Right of Appeal, do you recognize this document?
Yes, sir.
And is this your signature on the line that's
Yes.
titled Defendant?
Yes, it is.
We have the certification, discovery. And Ms. Williams, I also have before me a document that is titled Discovery Certification. Do you recognize this document?
Yes.
And is this your signature on the line that's titled Defendant? Ms. Williams, before you signed and initialed these documents, did your attorney go over these documents with you?
Yes.
And did you understand everything that he went over?
Yes, it is.
And is everything in these documents true and correct to the best of your knowledge?
Yes.
Ms. Williams, are you a citizen of the United States?
Yes, sir.
What is this doing here? And state, I have before me State's Exhibit Number 1, the misdemeanor plea admonishment. State, would you like to offer State's Exhibit Number 1 and State's Exhibit Number 2?
Yes,
The probable cause affidavit, which is in the court's file. Do you have any objections, Mr. Adams? No objections. State's Exhibits 1 and 2 are admitted. Mr. Adams, you advised in counsel, Ms. Williams, is there any evidence that she is currently mentally incompetent to stand trial?
No.
And Ms. Williams, your attorney, Mr. Adams, has advised and counseled you. Are you satisfied with his representation?
Yes.
Has he provided full, effective, and competent legal representation?
Yes.
Ms. Williams, I will accept your plea of no contest. I will find that you are mentally competent to stand trial. Will also find that your plea and waivers were freely and voluntarily given. And I will also find that there is sufficient evidence to find you guilty beyond a reasonable doubt. State, do we have a plea bargain agreement?
yes, we do. Your Honor.
And what is that agreement?
In exchange for the defendant's plea of guilty of no contest, the state has offered 10 days jail with credit for 7 days plus court costs.
Okay. Court Cross is 270. Ms. Williams, the state is offering that you serve 10 days in the Jefferson County Jail. You'll get credit for the 7 days that you've already served and any time that you are entitled to get by law. The court cost in this case is $270. Are you able to pay the $270 court cost today?
No.
Okay, Mr. Williams, I also have before me a document that is titled Affidavit of Indigence. Could you show that to Ms. Williams? Now, Ms. Williams, that affidavit of indigence has your name on it. It also has some financial information. Could you turn to the second page and the next page? The next page at the top left-hand side,
Yes, sir.
there is a signature above the line that is titled Defend the Signature. Is that your signature?
Yes,
And is everything in that document, is it still true and correct today?
yes,
Okay, Ms. Williams, the court is going to find that you're indigent. Based on that finding of indigency, the court cost of $270 in this case will be waived. That means you won't have to pay it.
yes,
Now, Ms. Williams, do you understand the state's offer?
yes, I do, sir.
Do you think that the state's offer in your case is fair and just?
Yes,
And do you accept the state's offer?
yes, I do.
Ms. Williams, I'll follow the plea bargain agreement that you have entered into with the state. Ms. Williams, we will proceed to your next case. And your next case is cause number 23CCCR 1072. And in this case, Ms. Williams, the state has also filed an information sheet. And this information sheet alleges that you, Maya Nicole Williams, on or about April 15th of 2020, hold on a minute. Both those on the same day? Okay. Okay, so Ms. Williams, this information sheet that was filed by the Jefferson County District Attorney's Office and cause number 23CCCR 1072 alleges that you, Maya Nicole Williams, on or about April 15th of 2023, committed the Class A misdemeanor offense of burglary of a vehicle. Ms. Williams, do you understand what you've been charged with?
Yeah.
And to this charge, Ms. Williams, how do you plead? Guilty, not guilty, no contest?
No.
Now, you pleading no contest freely and voluntarily?
Yeah.
And are you pleading no contest because you do not wish to fight or contest the charges? Ms. Williams, I also have before me a document that is titled Misdemeanor Plea Admonishments. It is also labeled as State's Exhibit Number 1. Ms. Williams, do you recognize this document?
Yes,
On page 2 of the same document, there's a set of initials, MN, that's on the line next to a box that's checked. No contingent, which means no contest. Did you place your initials on this document?
yes,
On page 3 of this same document, there's a signature above the line that is titled Defendant. Is this your signature?
yes, it is.
On the next document that's titled Trial Court Certification of Defendant's Right of Appeal, do you recognize this document?
Yes,
And is this your signature on the line that's titled Defendant?
yes, it is.
At the top of this document, there's one box that's checked. The box that's checked states that this is a plea bargain case and you have no right of appeal. Do you understand that statement?
Yes.
I also have before me a document that is titled Discovery Certification. Do you recognize this document?
Yes, it is.
And is this your signature on the line that's titled Defendant? Now, Ms. Williams, before you signed and initialed these documents that I just showed you, did your attorney go over these documents with you?
Yes, he did.
And did you read and understand everything in these documents?
Yes, sir.
And is everything in these documents true and correct to the best of your knowledge?
Yes.
State, I have before me states exhibit number 1, the misdemeanor plea admonishment, and states exhibit number 2, the probable cause affidavit. State, would you like to offer states 1 and 2?
Yes, Your Honor.
Any objections, Mr. Adams?
No.
No objections. States exhibit 1 and 2 are admitted. Mr. Adams, you advised in counsel. Ms. Williams, in this case, is there any evidence that she's currently mentally incompetent to stand trial?
No.
Hey, Ms. Williams, your attorney, Mr. Adams, has also advised and counseled you in this case. Are you satisfied with his services in this case?
Yes.
Has he provided fully effective and competent legal representation?
Yeah.
Ms. Williams, I will accept your plea of no contest. I will find that you are mentally competent to stand trial. I will also find that your plea and waivers were freely and voluntarily given. I will also find that there is sufficient evidence to find you guilty beyond a reasonable doubt. State, do we have a plea bargain agreement?
Yes, we do, Your Honor.
And what is that agreement?
In exchange for Ms. Williams' plea of guilty or no contest, the state is offered 10 days jail with court costs, 7 days credit.
Do we know the court costs? 2/7, okay. Ms. Williams, the state is offering that you serve 10 days in Jefferson County Jail. You'll be given credit for the 7 days that you've already spent in jail. The court costs in this case of $270 will be waived pursuant to Article 42.15 of Texas Code of Criminal Procedure because the court has found that you're indigent. And based on that finding of indigency, the court cost is hereby waived. Ms. Williams, do you understand the state's offer?
Yes.
Do you think that the state's offer in your case is fair and just?
Yes.
And do you accept the state's offer?
Yes.
Ms. Williams, I'll follow the plea bargain agreement that you have entered into with the state. Ms. Williams is going to stand on the X next to your attorney, follow the directions of our clerk. Once you finish following the directions of the clerk, you can follow the bailiff and you have a blessed day.
Thank you, sir.
And you're welcome.
All right.
Mr. Adams, you're free to go
All right. Take it easy.
and you have a blessed day.
Yeah, oh,
Okay. Jefferson County Court at Law Number 2 is back in session. The court is in session in 2 cases. First case is cause number M329-226. Second case is cause number M329-700. Both cases are styled the state of Texas versus Corey Thomas. Mr. Thomas, would you please raise your right hand? Mr. Thomas, do you swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth so help you God?
Yes, sir.
You may put your hand down. How you doing, Mr. Thomas?
Doing all right, sir.
That's good. Now, your full name is Corey Thomas?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Thomas, you're representing your case by your attorney, Attorney Peter Doyle. Attorney Doyle, how are you doing?
Pretty good.
And Mr. Doyle, do you waive a record in Mr. Thomas' case?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Thomas, in cause number M329226, I have before me a motion to revoke your probation. In this motion that was filed by the Jefferson County District Attorney's Office, it alleges that on March 31st of 2023, that you, Corey Thomas, was found guilty for the Class A misdemeanor offense of driving while intoxicated with an alcohol concentration level of 0.15 or more. Your punishment was assessed at 180 days confinement in the Jefferson County Jail, $1,000 fine plus court costs, and that was probated for a period of 15 months. In this motion, Mr.
Your Honor, this time, state will let you know the state's abandoning allegation two, and there's two number threes on one of them, judge. So we're abandoning the last number three,
Okay,
really 2 and 4.
okay, so we amended that second allegation, that second number 3 to make it out of 4.
Yes.
You have any objections? It's gonna be abandoned anyway.
Stating only of 1 and 3. That's the only thing.
Okay. Okay, no objections. So, Mr. Thomas, the state has 4 allegations in this motion, say that you violated your probation. However, they are abandoning 2 of the 4 allegations. They are abandoning allegations 2 and 4. They will only be proceeding on allegation number 1 and 3. Allegation number 1 alleges that you, Corey Thomas, failed to report to the Jefferson County Probation Office as ordered by the court the months of March 2023 as directed in violation of condition 4 of your probation order. Is that true or not true? Allegation number 3 alleges that you, Corey Thomas, failed to abstain from the use or possession of any drugs except those taken or possessed under doctor's orders as ordered by the court in that order about June 20. Did you look at allegation number 3?
It's
This is,
positive.
yeah, but it said he got on probation on March 31st of 2020. Okay, let me do, okay. If he got on probation on March 31st of 2023, how did he violate his probation by not reporting for that month? And then in allegation number 3, it said he's failed to abstain from the use of drugs except those possessed under doctor's orders as ordered by the court in that on or about June 20 to 2022, before he got on probation. How did he violate his probation?
So we'd ask to amend the March to 2022.
Oh, he got
whenever the year is off. It's
oh, it is?
that's what-
Okay, let me
on
make
the
sure.
allocation.
Hold on, let me make sure.
We have no objection.
Oh, okay, let me,
I didn't check the date.
the information alleges that this offense occurred. Let me see, that was that, okay, the information, that's the offense. Let's see when the probation started.
And it's saying it started, that motion revoked. It's alleging it needs to be.
No, I'm talking about that, okay, hold on a minute. Where is the order? Probation order. Like it's January, no, that's a different one. That's the order in here. Application for probation order. Let's see, here we go. his probation started on October 27 of 2021.
So what we need to do, Judge, is on the first page, on that motion to revoke, we need to orally amend instead of March 31st, 2023, it needs to be October. It needs to be that date,
Should be,
21.
you have, now, do you have any objections, Mr. Doyle?
No, sir.
Okay, so let me see. So she's put on probation October 27 of 2021. Doing a trial amendment,
Yes, Your Honor.
27 of 2021. Okay,
And Judge,
I mean, everything else, that would probably be the only issue.
that will fix it, that'll be fine. So we'll still do 1 and 3.
Okay. Now let me do this here. Now, Mr. Thomas,
Yes, sir.
the state has amended this motion to revoke. I'm gonna just put it, I'm gonna say amended. We're gonna have to file this too. I'm gonna put it on today's date. Okay, now the state is amending the motion to revoke your probation. Now, this motion, the amendment states that you, Corey Thomas, was tried in the above number case, which is cause number M329226 on the 27th day of October of 2021 for the offense of driving while intoxicated. And you were found guilty and your punishment was assessed at 180 days in the Jefferson County Jail, a fine of $1,000 plus court costs, and that was probated for a period of 15 months. Now, Mr. Dahl, you're not objecting to this amendment, is that correct?
That's correct. Yes.
All right. Now, the state is alleging that they have 4 allegations, however, they're abandoning allegation 2 and 4. Allegation number 1 alleges that you, Corey Thomas, failed to report to the Jefferson County probation officer as directed by the court the months of March of 2023 as directed in violation of condition 4 of your probation order. Is that true or not true?
That's true.
Allegation number 3 alleges that you, Corey Thomas, failed to abstain from the use or possession of any drugs except those taken or possessed under doctor's orders as ordered by the court in that on or about June 20 to 2022, that you, Corey Thomas, provided a urine sample for a specific analysis that showed the presence of the metabolic byproducts of THC / PCP in violation of condition 12 of your probation order. Is that true or not true?
True.
Now, are you pleading true to these allegations freely and voluntarily?
Yes, sir.
And are you pleading true because they are true?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now, Mr. Thomas,
Yes, sir.
are you now, Mr. Thomas, I also have before me another document. This document is titled misdemeanor plea admonishments. Do you recognize this document?
Yes, sir.
And on page 2 of this same document, there are a set of initials on a line next to a box that's checked MTRP, true to allegations 1 and 3. MTRP means motion to revoke probation. Did you place your initials on this document?
Yes, sir.
On page 3 of this same document, there's a signature above the line that is titled defendant. Is this your signature? Now, I also have another document before me that is titled trial court's certification of defendant's right of appeal. Do you recognize this document?
Yes, sir.
And is this your signature on the line that's titled defendant? Now, at the top of this document, there are 2 boxes that's checked. The first box that's checked states that this is a plea bargaining case and you have no right of appeal. Do you understand that statement?
Yes, sir.
The next box that's checked states that you are waiving your right to an appeal, which means you're giving up your right to an appeal. Do you understand that statement?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Thomas, before you signed and initial all of these documents that I just showed you, did your attorney, Mr. Dahl, go over these documents with you?
Yes, sir.
And did you read and understand everything in these documents?
Yes, sir.
And is everything in these documents true and correct
Yes, sir.
to the best of your knowledge?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Thomas, are you a citizen of the United States?
Yes, sir.
State I have before me, State's Exhibit number 1. State, would you like to offer State's Exhibit number 1?
Yes, sir.
Any objections?
Yes, sir.
No objection. State's Exhibit number 1 will be admitted. Mr. Dahl, you've advised and counseled Mr. Thomas. Is there any evidence that he is currently mentally incompetent to stand trial?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Thomas, your attorney, Mr. Dahl, has advised and counseled you. Are you satisfied with his representation?
Yes, sir.
Has he provided full, effective, and competent legal representation?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Dahl, Mr. Dahl, you advised and counseled Mr. Thomas. Is there any evidence that he's mentally competent to stand trial?
That he's mentally competent?
That he's mentally incompetent to stand trial?
Yes, sir.
Okay, now, Mr. Thomas, I will accept your plea of true to allegations 1 and 3. I will find that you are mentally competent to stand trial. I will also find that your plea and waivers were freely and voluntarily given. I will also find that there is sufficient evidence to revoke your probation, and your probation is hereby revoked. State, do we have a plea bargain agreement?
We do, Your Honor.
And what is that
In
agreement?
exchange for a plea of true and allegations 1 and 3, the state agreed to recommend 80 days in Jefferson County Jail and court calls. The defendant has credit for 80 days, but has to be time served and tax recovery.
Mr. Thomas, the state is offering that you serve 80 days in Jefferson County Jail. However, you don't have to serve any more time in the Jefferson County Jail on this case because you've already served 80 days in the Jefferson County Jail. Therefore, you be given credit for the time that you've already served. Court cost in this case is $57, but you would not be required to pay the $57 court cost because the time that you spent in jail has already paid it off. Therefore, the court cost will be taxed and retired. Mr. Thomas, do you understand the state's offer?
Yes, sir.
And do you think that the state's offer in your case is fair and just?
Yes, sir.
And do you accept the state's offer?
Yes, sir.
We'll
Think you
amend
got
it.
the
We'll amend it.
same problem?
We'll do a trial amendment, good.
Okay.
We're gonna ask these right concurrent as well. Jim.
Okay. Now, Mr. Thomas, as I stated earlier, the court is going to follow the plea bargain agreement that you have entered into with the state. And this case will run concurrent with the next case, which is cause number M329770. And I have before me in cause number M329770, a motion, actually it's going to be an amended motion to revoke your probation. Mr. Dahl, the state is amending this motion to, is changing the date March, saying that he was placed on probation on March 31st of 2023 to October 27th of 2021. Do you have any objections?
No, sir.
Okay, no objections. The court is going to admit or allow this amended motion to revoke probation to stand. I'll put my initials on it. 7/27/23. Now, Mr. Dahl, you waiving any other time that to prepare for trial on this amendment?
Yes.
Okay. Now, Mr. Thomas, I have before me a document that is titled amended motion to revoke probation. In this amended motion to revoke probation, it was filed by the Jefferson County District Attorney's Office actually today. And in this motion, it alleges that on or about, well, not on or about, but on October 27th of 2021, that you was found guilty for the offense of evading arrest, detention, and your punishment was assessed at 180 days in Jefferson County Jail, a fine of $1,000, and that was probated for 15 months. You have the same thing here, the abandoning.
Yes,
And there are 4 allegations in this motion. However, the state is abandoning allegations 2 and 4, and 4 is the second number 3 that the court is making that correction. You have any
Okay.
objections? Okay. Now, Mr. Thomas, in allegation number 1, the state alleges that you failed to report to the Jefferson County Probation Officer's order by the court for the months of March 2023 as directed in violation of condition 4 of your probation order. Is that true or not true?
That's true, sir.
Allegation number 3 alleges that you, Corey Thomas, failed to abstain from the use or possession of any drugs except those taken or possessed under doctor's orders as ordered by the court in that on or about June 20th of 2022, that you, Corey Thomas, provided a urine sample for a scientific analysis that showed the presence of the metabolic byproducts of THC/PCP in violation of condition 12 of your probation order. Is that true or not true?
That's true.
Now, you're pleading true to allegations 1 and 3 freely and voluntarily?
Yes, sir.
And are you pleading true because they are true?
Yes, sir.
All right. Now, Mr. Thomas, I also have before me a document. I have before me a document that is titled Misdemeanor Plea Admonishment, is also labeled as State's Exhibit Number 1. This document, do you recognize this document?
Yes, sir.
It has the MTRP check, which is motion to revoke probation, on page 2 of this document. There are a set of initials on a line next to a box that's checked MTRP true to allegations 1 and 3. Did you place your initials on this document?
Yes, sir.
On page 3 of the same document, there's a signature above the line that's titled defendant. Is this your
Yes,
signature?
sir.
On the next document that's titled Trial Court Certification of Defendant's Right of Appeal, you recognize this document?
Yes, sir.
And is this your signature above the line that's titled defendant?
Yes, sir.
At the top of this document, there are 2 boxes that's checked. The first box that's checked states that this is the plea bargain case and you have no right of appeal. Do you understand that?
Yes, sir.
The second box that's checked states that you're waiving your right to an appeal, which means you're giving up your right to an appeal. Do you understand that statement?
Yes, sir.
And Mr. Thomas, before you signed and initialed these documents, did your attorney go over these documents with you?
Yes, sir.
And did you read and understand everything in these documents?
Yes, sir.
And is everything in these documents true and correct
Yes, sir.
to the best of your knowledge?
Yes, sir.
State, I have before me State's Exhibit Number 1. State, would you like to offer State's Exhibit Number 1?
Yes, sir.
Any objections, Mr. Dahl?
None, Judge.
No objections. State's Exhibit Number 1 will be admitted. Mr. Dahl, you've advised and counseled Mr. Thomas in this case. Is there any evidence that he is currently mentally incompetent to stand trial?
None, Judge.
And Mr. Thomas, your attorney, Mr. Dahl, has advised and counseled you. Are you satisfied with his representation?
Yes, sir.
Has he provided fully effective and competent legal representation?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Dahl, I'm gonna have Mr. Dahl, Mr. Thomas, I will accept your plea of true to allegations 1 and 3. I will find that you are mentally competent to stand trial. I will also find that your plea and waivers were freely and voluntarily given. And I will find that there is sufficient evidence to revoke your probation. Your probation is hereby revoked. State, do we have a plea bargain agreement?
We do, Your Honor.
And what is that agreement?
In exchange for a plea of true and allegations 1 and 3, states agree to recommend 80 days in the Jefferson County Jail and court costs with credit for 80 days. This will run the current. With the previous case, this would be a time served judgment, and we have to tax and retirement court.
Okay, Mr. Thomas, the state is offering that you serve 80 days in the Jefferson County Jail. However, you will not have to serve any more time in the Jefferson County Jail on this case because you've already served 80 days in the Jefferson County Jail. Therefore, you'll be given credit for the time that you have already served. The court cost in this case is $57. You will not be required to pay the court cost because the time that you spent in jail has already paid it off. This case will run concurrent with cause number M329226, which is the previous case. Mr. Thomas, do you understand the state's offer?
Yes, sir.
Do you think that the state's offer in your case is fair and just?
Yes, sir.
And do you accept the state's offer?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Thomas, I'll follow the plea bargain agreement that you have entered into with the state. Mr. Thomas, this will conclude your case. If you do not have anything else holding you in jail, you should be getting out of jail today. Mr. Thomas, you're going to stand on the X next to your attorney, follow the directions of our clerk. Once you finish following the directions of the clerk, you can follow the bailiff. You have a blessed day. And Mr. Doyle, this will conclude your cases. You're free to go and you have a blessed day as well.
Thank you, Judge.
You're welcome. Let's see. Okay, this is cause number M332818, case of style of state of Texas versus Chase Allen Ekman. Mr. Ekman, is that your full name?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Ekman, would you please raise your right hand? Mr. Ekman, do you swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth to help you God?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Ekman, you may put your hand down. How are you doing, Mr. Ekman?
Doing all right.
You doing all right? That's good. Now, Mr. Ekman, you're represented in your case by your attorney Marcus Wilkerson. Attorney Wilkerson, how are you doing?
I'm well, Judge. Thank you.
Mr. Wilkerson, do you waive a record in Mr. Ekman's case?
Yes,
Mr. Ekman, I have before me a document that is titled information.
Let's go right here. Okay.
Mr. Ekman, I have before me a document that is titled information. This information was filed by the Jefferson County District Attorney's Office. In this information, it alleges that you, Chase Allen Ekman, on or about May 15 of 2022, while you were in Jefferson County, Texas, that you committed the Class B misdemeanor offense of criminal trespassing. Mr. Ekman, do you understand what you've been charged with?
Yes, sir.
And to discharge Mr. Ekman, how do you plead? Guilty, not guilty, no contest?
Yes,
Now, you're pleading guilty freely and voluntarily?
yes, sir.
And are you pleading guilty because you are guilty?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Ekman, I also have before me a document that is titled Misdemeanor Plea Admonishments, also labeled State's Exhibit Number 1. You recognize this document?
Yes, sir.
On page 2 of the same document, there are a set of initials on the line next to a box that's checked guilty. Initials are CR, CE. You place your initials on this document.
Yes, sir.
On page 3 of the same document, there's a signature above the line that is titled Defendant. Is this your signature?
Yes, sir.
On the next document is titled Trial Court Certification of Defendant's Right of Appeal. You recognize this document?
Yes, sir.
And is this your signature on the line that's titled Defendant? At the top of this document, there are 2 boxes that's checked. The first box that's checked states that this is a plea bargain case and you have the right of appeal. Do you understand that statement?
Yes, sir.
Second box that's checked states that you are waiving your right to an appeal, which means you're giving up your right to an appeal. Do you understand that statement?
Yes, sir.
I also have before me a document that is titled Discovery Certification. You recognize this document?
Yes, sir.
And is this your signature on the line that's titled Defendant?
Yes, sir.
Now, Mr. Ekman, before you signed and initialed these documents, did your attorney, Mr. Wilkerson, go over these documents with you?
Yes, sir.
And did you read and understand everything in these documents?
Yes, sir.
And is everything in these documents true and correct to the best of your knowledge?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Ekman, are you a citizen of the United States?
Yes, sir.
State, I have before me State's Exhibit Number 1, the misdemeanor plea admonishment. State, would you like to offer State's Exhibit Number 1?
Yes, sir.
Any objections?
no, Your Honor.
No objection. State's Exhibit Number 1 will be admitted. Mr. Wilkerson, you've advised in counsel, Mr. Ekman, is there any evidence that he is currently mentally incompetent to stand trial?
No, Your Honor.
Mr. Ekman, your attorney, Mr. Wilkerson, has advised and counseled you. Are you satisfied with his representation?
Yes, sir.
Has he provided full, effective, and competent legal representation?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Ekman, I will accept your plea of guilty. I will find that you are mentally competent to stand trial. I will also find that your plea and waivers were freely and voluntarily given. And I will also find that there is sufficient evidence to find you guilty beyond a reasonable doubt. State, do we have a plea bargain agreement?
Yes, sir.
And what is that agreement?
In exchange for plea of guilty and no contest, the state agreed to recommend 10 days in Jefferson County Jail at court costs. Defendant had credit for 10 days. Would ask us to be time served and to tax the power.
Okay, Mr. Ekman, the state is offering that you serve 10 days in the Jefferson County Jail. Actually, you have more than enough time that you've already spent in the Jefferson County Jail because you spent some time in Chambers County before you came over here. And you also spent some time here. So you will be given credit for the time that you've already served, so which means that you won't have to serve any more time in jail on this case. The court costs in this case of $387. You will not be required to pay that because the time that you spent in jail has already paid it off. Therefore, the court costs will be taxed and retired. Now, Mr. Ekman, do you understand the state's offer?
Yes, sir.
Do you think that the state's offer in your case is fair and just?
Yes, sir.
And do you accept the state's offer?
Yes, sir.
Now, Mr. Ekman, if there's not anything else holding you in jail, you should be getting out of jail today because the court is going to follow this plea bargaining agreement. Now, Mr. Ekman, you're going to stand on the X next to your attorney, follow the directions of our clerk. Once you finish following her directions, you're free to follow the bill and you have a blessed day.
Thank you, sir.
All right.
Thank you, Your Honor.
And Mr. Wilkerson, you're free to go as well and you have a blessed day.
Thank you.
Okay, this will conclude the docket in County Court at Law number 2, Jefferson County, Texas. Judge Terrence L. Holmes presiding.